For a long time, Ed's Diner felt immune to the problems facing UK casual dining. While other restaurants competed on menus, trends, or celebrity chefs, Ed's sold something different. It sold nostalgia. Chrome counters, red leather booths, milkshakes in tall glasses, rock and roll on the speakers. Walking into an Ed's Diner wasn't just about eating a burger. It was about stepping into a version of 1950s America that most customers had never actually lived through, but somehow recognized instantly. At its peak, Ed's Diner operated more than 50 locations across the UK, often in shopping centres, retail parks, and tourist-heavy areas. It looked like the perfect antidote to bland chains and generic cafes. And then, quietly, it started to vanish. Administrations, closures, restructurings. To the public, it felt sudden. But the reality is far more uncomfortable. Ed's Diner didn't fail because people stopped liking milkshakes. It failed because nostalgia is not a scalable business model. To understand what really happened, we need to break Ed's Diner down into 5 chapters: the concept, the expansion, the economics, the collapse, and the afterlife. Ed's Diner launched in the late 1980s with a very deliberate positioning. It wasn't competing with fast food, it wasn't competing with premium dining, it was competing with experience. The food itself was simple: burgers, hot dogs, fries, milkshakes. What customers paid for was theme, atmosphere, familiarity. Fun. For years, this worked remarkably well. Families loved it. Tourists understood it instantly. Shopping centres wanted it as a destination tenant. But here is the structural problem. When experience is the product, the experience must never feel stale. And that is where Ed's Diner quietly ran into trouble. As Ed's Diner grew, it followed a familiar UK casual dining playbook. More sites, more footfall-driven locations, more exposure. By the 2010s, Ed's Diner had expanded rapidly into shopping malls, high streets, leisure complexes. This expansion created visibility, but it also created uniformity. Every Ed's looked almost identical. Every menu felt the same. Every visit delivered the same experience. At first, that consistency was reassuring. Over time, it became predictable. And in experiential dining, predictability is dangerous. The novelty wears off, especially for repeat customers. What was once charming started to feel static. What once felt charming began to feel routine. Customers knew exactly what they would get before they walked through the door. There was no surprise, no evolution, no sense that the brand was moving forward. For first-time visitors, the experience still worked. For repeat customers, it slowly lost urgency. And casual dining depends heavily on repeat visits. Without them, even busy-looking restaurants become fragile. Ed's Diner didn't lose customers all at once. It lost frequency. And in hospitality, declining frequency is often the earliest sign of structural trouble. If you like this video, please subscribe. We would love to hit 5,000 subscribers this week. Now let's move on with the video. Here is where the numbers begin to matter. Ed's Diner had a cost structure that worked against it. Large dining spaces, high staffing requirements, decorative maintenance, and prime retail rents all added up to heavy fixed costs. And yet, its menu pricing was constrained. Burgers and milkshakes had clear price ceilings, low perceived premium, and were easy to substitute. Customers would happily pay a bit extra for the experience, but not indefinitely. Meanwhile, competitors evolved. Fast casual chains reduced seating, focused on delivery, and optimized labor. Ed's Diner could not. Its entire identity depended on sit-down dining, in-store atmosphere, and physical presence. The result was a growing mismatch between what the brand cost to operate and what customers were willing to pay. That gap widened every year. The tipping point came when UK retail footfall declined. Shopping centres became liabilities. High street traffic weakened. Leisure spending became more selective. For Ed's Diner, this was devastating. Because unlike flexible operators, it couldn't shrink its footprint easily, pivot to delivery, reduce staffing dramatically. By the time footfall began to decline, Ed's Diner had already lost its margin for error. The business wasn't fragile because demand collapsed overnight. It was fragile because demand no longer needed to collapse for the numbers to stop working. Even modest drops in traffic had outsized effects on profitability. Fixed costs stayed exactly where they were. Staffing levels couldn't be reduced without breaking the experience. Rent obligations didn't care whether customers felt nostalgic or not. What had once been a strength, consistency, became a constraint. The brand could not experiment without undermining what made it recognizable. And it could not stand still without becoming irrelevant. That left no safe direction to move, only time, and time was no longer on its side. In 2016, the company entered administration for the first time. Dozens of sites closed, jobs were lost, the brand retreated. But this wasn't a reset, it was a managed contraction. The underlying issues remained, further restructurings followed, more closures came. Ed's Diner didn't collapse in one dramatic moment, it slowly ran out of places where its model still worked. Today, Ed's Diner still exists, but in a much smaller, quieter form. The brand survives through a handful of locations, licensing deals, variants like Ed's Easy Diner, but its cultural moment has passed. Not because the concept was bad, not because the food was terrible, but because the environment changed and the brand could not. So what actually went wrong? Why did Ed's Diner lose its place on the British High Street? 1. Nostalgia has a half-life. What feels magical the first few times becomes background noise over years. 2. Experience first. Models are costly. When atmosphere is the product, costs stay high even when demand falls. 3. Fixed locations killed flexibility. Shopping centers amplified the downside of declining footfall. 4. The menu had a price ceiling. Burgers and shakes can only stretch so far before customers walk away. 5. Consistency became stagnation. What once felt iconic eventually felt frozen in time. And here is the deeper lesson. Ed's Diner did not fail because people stopped enjoying diners. It failed because nostalgia works best as a moment, not as a system. You can visit the past, you cannot live in it. In an industry where adaptability decides survival, Ed's Diner chose preservation over evolution. And when the world moved on, the brand was left behind, polished, recognizable, and quietly out of place. Ed's Diner was not destroyed by competition, it was overtaken by time. Fade to black. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. We want to hit 5,000 subscribers this week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.